It's very like, whereas when I do look at my business and right now, it's probably just a bit of a generic, it probably is just a generic fat loss program. It just probably doesn't stand out to the crowd.
But then you also have the best niche you're selling to, because women who are, say, 30, 35 plus is the biggest weight loss group to try and sell to for coaching.
Hard to work with.
So
do you know that I'll tell a lie. So when I was a one-to-one PT, this is why I started working with women. So as I was a one-to-one PT, 90% of my clients were just women, and that wasn't, it just happened. I always tell people, like, my niche chose me. I didn't choose that niche, it just happened. So that's how I've just sort of evolved, by working with women. And they're sick. They don't get me wrong, you get the odd headache, but you'll get the odd headache no matter who you work with, but they're brilliant. I think I have a good, with a lot of my clients, I do have a very good like relationship and connection with them. And I think that's important as well when it comes to like scaling a business. Your clients need to like you, don't they? If your clients don't like you, you're not going to have a long-term business.
Well, then if they like you, you're also much more likely to get referrals, which is how your business really grows, which is like one of the big ways our business grows is from referrals all the time. So I think creating relationships and also trying to give a shit is a big thing. Like, I really care about like helping people and people getting results, and then that carries over in terms of the way you communicate and the information you put out there, and then also the client results.
And I think that probably is the difference. Like, I think if you do something like this purely and simply for money, you probably will get so far, but you're not going to take it any further than that, I don't think.
Well, you also get unstuck very quickly. So, because when it gets difficult, you'll just fold. And that's why I see that with a lot of people, if they come into fitness coaching, you can become a multimillionaire in fitness coaching, but people who come in with that mentality of like, either they don't really like fitness or they also don't really want to help people, well, then they'll come out of it pretty quick because their values aren't really aligned, if that makes sense. And when it gets tough, they'll fold.
I'll tell you what was what we were speaking about when we were training, so you mentioned we were speaking about time, and I said I want more time, and you shut that down and said you just need to spend your time more wisely. What do you mean?
So, okay, the easiest thing, like I mentioned you on the whiteboard, right? So it's like, I have 3 big projects I need to get done this month. If I do these, this month is a success, regardless. So like, one is I'm speaking at a big event this weekend. The other one is we're relaunching our school system. The other one is I'm launching a coaching business for someone who's a really big name in the industry. So if I get those 3 done this month, crushes. So I know where my focus is. And when your focus and attention goes, your energy will flow as well. So I think you being very clear and intentional in terms of what it is you actually need to do, rather than just doing the same busy work every day. So like, one of the things I also stole from Steve Jobs, he has a saying, it's like signal and noise. So like, signal is like the 2-3 things a day you need to do that are actually going to really move the needle in your business. And noise is like the bullshit. It's like, not bullshit, it's stuff that's important, but it's like repetitive. So maybe like sales calls, posting your stories, that type of stuff. So for you to get more out of your time is being more structured on like, what's the big problem I need to solve? When am I solving it? And like, a lot of time I'll block stuff in my calendar, being like the school thing I mentioned, that's in my calendar tomorrow morning at like 6:30. So like, okay, I need to deal with that then, and then deal with it properly. And then it's kind of one and done. So it's being not just working in the business, like working on the business. So you've got 2 types of tasks. You've got like money now, which would be like content, DM, sales. And you've got money later, which is like building new systems, trying to learn new things and trying to look what the next iteration and evolution of the business is. The reason why a lot of people's businesses in particular going backwards right now is because the market is shifting a lot and has done since 2020, yet a lot of people are still trying to use the same approaches that worked in 2020, yet we're in 2026, if that makes sense.
What do you think it'll look like in another 6 years?
I think my gut feeling of what's going to happen, say if we're 2026, let's go to 2030. So by 2030, I think anyone who's running a low ticket thing is goosed. So the most powerful thing is going to be IRL, in real life. People want to have human interactions and they want to create relationships with people, because people are getting quite actually disjointed, even though we're the most connected we ever are. So I think having actual in-person events and stuff for people in real life will be very popular. Secondly is you want to go high price point, high touch point, because AI will be so good then it can program and do nutrition better than anyone else. But what AI can't do is, like, if ChatGPT's called me a lazy piece of shit for not getting out of bed, I'm like, I don't really care. But if you sell like, Charlie, you're a lazy piece of shit, I'm like, for fuck's sake. Like I said to you earlier, I trained with Zach Wade last week, who I got on the podcast. I'm like, I don't want to look like a fucking pussy and have to walk and finish this workout. So like, I'm going to keep fucking running, even if I fucking like die, basically. I will not stop. And that's because you have the accountability of someone else watching you being like, because in particular men, if you're kind of competitive, which a lot of the guys watching this probably are, if you're watching this, you don't want to look like a pussy in front of other people. So like, if you know, and this is also when I was a student for people, like being coached by people, I was going the mentality is I want to be the fucking most impressive person I ever worked with. So I remember the first big investment I made was like $12,000 in 2020 maybe into a mastermind. It was in the US. They gave me some stuff to do, bro. I did it all within fucking 6 hours. I was like, what do you want me to do now?
Yeah.
And they were literally like, my friend Frank was at the time, and they were like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? This guy's like autistic. Because I was like on one, because I wanted to kind of prove a point. I probably had a chip on my shoulder, which I still do, but that's what kind of gives you the urgency to keep pushing. So I think if you kind of have that mindset of like, can I be the best student possible? And then with the clients you have for 2030, you want to go more premium price point and higher touch point, actual solve real problems and create community, I think is what people are going to want more than ever. So for example, let's say you were going to be a fitness coach and you were going to work with women in Dubai. Something I would do, I'd probably make like a Sunday fucking walking or running club at Kite Beach to try and create a community with my clients, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because people would always want to come just to be part of that.
I think that's a big thing. I think that will be a big thing for me this year. I have told myself I'm going to do this, a couple of more, like when I'm back in the UK, hold some events for clients, because especially women, like they love shit like that. And it just, I think when you've got a good community, you get better results. When you're getting better results, you get more referrals. When you're getting more referrals, there's more people to get better results. There's more posts on your social media. There's more people coming through. It's just, and that does probably come from having a good community, doesn't it? And I've never done a client thing, not one. I'm going back to the UK in the next month. My mum doesn't know this, so I'm sorry if I've just spoiled a surprise for you, mum, if you're watching this. But I'm going to hold like a little mini photo shoot for a couple of my clients, and we'll just go for some food afterwards. So yeah, I think that's one thing that I'm definitely going to implement this year, which will be a big thing. And obviously we've got your mastermind, haven't we?
Yes, we've ours 13th to 14th March. There's a link above if you want to go. But like for example, like we do 3 big events a year. They're a lot of fucking work. They cost me like 30 grand to go, so it's not cheap. But from our own perspective, it creates a lot of brand authority. We can give loads and loads of value. You can create community. I also enjoy it, even though it's a bit of a headache to try and kind of arrange. And then we also do like small ones. So I think you came to one recently, like kind of monthly. And that for me is also where, for anyone with their own business, it's good for like market feedback, because you can see the same thing when people come to our events, like the kind of around the coffee table conversations is where you hear small things and it gives you ideas, or like where you can improve, where people need more help. Whereas like, even through technology, there's sometimes a bit of a distance where people kind of hold some things back, if that makes sense.
I think it's just, even if you indirectly learn, like I could probably shadow you for 24 hours and probably learn more than doing an online course for 12 months or reading a book I don't know. And it's just, you just pick up different habits from different people. And as you say, it's just who you surround yourself with. I'm looking forward to the Dubai, the March event.
So that's going to be the biggest event we've ever had in terms of like the best speakers. We've got a good friend of mine, Javi, who's the biggest coach in the Spanish market. He had like 10,000 clients in the last 12 months. We've got a guy called Anthony, who's the biggest coach in the whole of South America. So like they're very coaching specific. With a friend of mine, Mike Rador, speaking at the start. I got a load of value I'm going to be sharing in terms of like scaling on easy mode for 2026. And then we've also got Ollie Ollerton speaking the next day. And we've got like the biggest super yacht in Dubai you can rent. Which, to be honest with you, if anyone watching is like, I'm kind of like childish that I just, it's a reason to get a massive boat and just fuck around with it and then also have some fun. But then also like learn stuff, and like it's those kind of informal conversations where people learn a lot, rather than just being sat in a classroom for fucking 3 days.
Yeah, well, I think for me, it's like one of the biggest ways it'll benefit me is just being exposed to, people who are just doing a lot better than me. And I don't know, they might be charging 5k per month, so I'll jump on a sales call the next day and I'll charge 5k per year. Sorry, like if they can do it, why can't I? But it again, if I was still in Middlesbrough, I'm never in a million years getting exposed to anything like that. So I would have literally just stayed. Well, I suppose stuck. I think what happened in January. So I think you told me to up prices, but I didn't. I think you told me what my price is was it mid-December?
Yeah, whenever we last
mid-December,
spoke.
and you told me to, but I didn't. And I was speaking to, I can't remember if I was speaking to someone or if I watched a podcast or something, and they were charging something ridiculous, and I was like, fuck. So I jumped on a sales call the next day, and I was charging 997. I think I jumped on a sales call the next day, and I think I'd charged 1,200. And I think so that was like the most I've ever took off someone. And then a couple of days later, I think I done 1,500. And then a couple of days later, I'd done 2K. And then a couple of days later, I'd done 3K. And I was like, fuck. And that was just because, you get exposed to something, and then it just sort of snowballs and it just ripples, doesn't it?
But that's because you have a limiting belief in your head that someone's not willing to pay that. But it's like I said to you earlier, the reason people aren't, you obviously are because you invest in yourself, but like the reason people aren't willing to ask for 2 or 3K is because they won't spend it themselves, which is why they have a limiting belief around money, if that makes sense. You need to kind of detach a bit.
I was thinking about this the other day. So like when I look at the investments that I've made, especially over the past 12 months and the 2 investments, and they've both completely changed my life. So every money I've spent has been worth it. So then I was looking at my own coaching business, and I was thinking of like some of the results that I've got off like from the last 12 months, and I've genuinely changed their life. So I think when you actually do have a product, and you have a product that does change people's lives, then and you are working a lot, which I do, you should be charging whatever you want, really, shouldn't you? If it's having that impact on people.
It's your business, you can charge whatever the fuck you like. I tell a story of I quoted someone 100 grand to work with them on the business because I didn't want to do it. So I didn't give a fucking shit. So I was like, I didn't want to do it. If they pay me, I'll do it. And I think that was a liberating experience for me because I didn't want to do it anyway. And so if they say yes, I'm like, okay, cool. But also like, it's a mental thing of saying it's 100 grand is then 10 or whatever seems very cheap, or 5.
I was speaking to someone in the gym a couple of weeks ago, and he just moved out in Dubai, and he was just picking my brain on a couple of bits and bobs. And he asked me what I was charging, so I told him, I said, what about you? And he said, oh, well, he said, I think he was charging like 997 or something similar. He said, but the last few weeks, I said, I've dropped my price back down to like 400, 500 just to get a couple of yeses, just to build some confidence. And I'm just like, oh, you're just devaluing yourself, aren't you?
Well, that's also like, that's the emotional stability thing I said to you earlier. Yeah. Because sometimes you've got to plant your fucking flag and stick by it. Like, cool, if your closing percentage goes down dramatically over 2 months, then maybe. But then if your program is that cheap anyway, that's a marketing and a messaging issue, not a pricing issue, or maybe a sales problem.
100% a sales, well, I would say it's a sales problem.
Yeah, it's a sales problem, but also your marketing could be attracting brokies as well.
Yeah, people know, yeah.
And not everyone needs to be sold necessarily.
How can you market to attract
the language
more financial
you use,
qualified?
The language you use, the clothing you wear, the way the visuals are, the pain points and problems you speak about. That's the biggest thing. So, like, say for example, if you're working with middle-aged women who could be like most of your clients' mums.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you a mum who wants to look in great shape this summer in a bikini and going on holiday to Mykonos or Saint-Tropez, but you don't know what to eat, when to eat, and how much? But by where I'm saying they're going to go on holiday is high end. It's already kind of disqualifying loads of people. They're going to go fucking Benidorm.
You're not saying Butlins or something.
Yeah. They're not going to kind of be in. So that kind of the language you use and positioning it to the right people is a big one. Like we have a really good clients who work in the wedding niche, and one of the hooks I gave them was like, are you a woman who's spending $10,000 in a wedding dress, but you're terrified about how you're going to look on it on the big day? So like $10,000 is a lot to spend on a wedding dress. That's
a very specific niche, that, isn't it? Like wedding. I quite like that.
But I like your niche is very, very good. So I think for you that's so for people, for the marketing message, being more clear about the pain points and problems you're speaking to makes a massive difference.
I think that's why I book quite a lot of calls. And I think the reason why I book quite a lot of calls is because the way we speak to them in the DMs, like I almost know what to ask them because I know exactly what they're going to say to me, which then leads me into the next question I can ask them. And that's just because I know them like just inside out. So I think that's helped me a lot, especially this past year. But that's only because I've had 7 years before that.
Literally what I was about to say. You spent fucking 8 years with them in real life, in person,
that's what I'm saying, so.
Knowing all the stuff they moan about, all the things, problems they have. Like, you know they're inside out, what their problems are, which means you can then just speak to those.
And I suppose as well, I know we keep on saying that there's not many industries where you can go from earning 0 to 10K to 20K in a very short period of time, but I do think I'm unsure if I'd have been able to scale as fast this past year, if I didn't have the foundations that I'd put in place doing my one-to-one PT, just because number one, I'm a good coach. Like, you can put anyone in front of me, and if they do exactly what I tell them to do, they will lose weight. Simple as that. But like, I know exactly how I need to communicate with them. I know exactly when's the right time to put an arm around them. I know exactly when it's the right time to give them a kick up the arse. And I know exactly what I need to speak to them before they join my program, and like I say, after as well. But that's only because I've spent 12 hours a day with them on the gym floor.
Well, that's why I think for anyone who's coming from that background, you actually have a huge advantage. And I'd even talk about that in your like marketing of like, I spent 7 years training women on the gym floor. Here's the 3 biggest mistakes that women are making. Like stuff like, you can kind of lean into that, or like, you can work out how many PT sessions you've done over the last 7 years. I worked this out for a client, I think, a guy called Dom. I think he'd done like 11,000 hours of PT or something stupid, which is wild. So like, once you've done over 10,000 hours or something, that's like the definition of mastery.
Now, if you enjoyed this clip and you're a coach, creator, or a business owner and you want help in terms of how to scale your business using ads, AI, content, marketing, a lot of things we talk about on the show, then hit the link at the top line of our description in the YouTube video. You can book in a call with us and walk through the whole process, audit your business, and show you where there's huge, huge opportunities for you to scale.